Okay, let's talk about a lot of things have happened about Robotaxi and FSD, and we've got Omar here. So first, Omar, there was on Monday, you said that you started hearing Tesla employees are beginning to receive FSD version 14. Is that a rumor? Is there some truth to that? Have you heard any more?
Yeah, there are definitely some Tesla employees who are now running FSD 14. I would call this kind of a early build that's still in the validation phase as they prepare to start rolling it out to early access customers later this month. So I think they may be on track for the end of September. Um, this is still very early. It's not yet with all Tesla employees, but some do have it to help validate the build. So that's really exciting. This is the build with the 10x larger model. I think it's going to be really key in getting the safety driver removed at the end of the year, decreasing the rate of interventions, and just generally bringing us towards FSD unsupervised. Also, a much anticipated update for customers to receive as well. So yeah, I can confirm that it is on some employee cars. I mean, we're not really supposed to know about this. It's super early. But I know some people were saying after his comments at the All In Summit, oh, it's not going to come until the end of the year or something like that. It doesn't look like that's the case. It does look like it's on track for at least a release to some early access customers in September. It usually takes several weeks to several months to get that rolling out to everybody, especially all the countries around the world that have FSD now. But I think you're going to start to see it roll out by the end of the month.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. So if it is true that if some early employees are getting it now, let's say on Monday, when do you think you, one of the early people, hopefully gets it again? Yeah, no, or you don't know, obviously, but you can guess based on previous releases. A couple weeks from now, a month from now, longer.
Well, I think the answer, as always, is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But in
Okay.
in about 2 weeks, yeah, maybe I'll see it on my customer on my car. Maybe it could be sooner than that. But there's no real telling when you're validating these things. There's no way to predict it's going to look 100% good on this date. But judging by the progress of the rollout and the feedback, I did talk to somebody who had a chance to ride an FSD 14. It sounds like it is going to be on track for an initial release this
Oh,
month.
you did speak to somebody who's, ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. But do you think there's some truth to this logic? In the past, when you had a new version of FSD, you'd roll it out to a small number of people just to make sure there isn't any major bugs. But with this version, because they're getting so good, as Elon keeps saying, you need thousands and thousands of miles driven to really try to catch the issue. Then, and maybe this means that they need to roll this out to 1,000 people right off the bat just to see, right? Is there logic in that?
Um, we'll have to see. My expectation is that we're going to see a cautious, phased rollout. I think the most important thing for them is not getting a bunch of updates out. Remember, they can run the update on shadow mode and gather that data from our car in the background without us even knowing about it. But in terms of turning it on for people, people are really now used to FSD just working extremely well, having very few interventions, extremely rare safety critical interventions. I think they want to maintain that high bar and make sure the new update is doing a lot of things better, bringing more intelligence, but also not regressing in any way and continuing to do all the things right that 13 does right. So I think they're going to be cautious. They want to make sure more than anything that they maintain that bar for people, that people don't see kind of any steps backward on their daily drive. And with this type of model, the end-to-end model, it's much more difficult to do that, I think, in a deterministic way than when they're kind of, changing one line of code. You change one line of code, really only that line of code is going to change. You train a new model, it, especially a bigger model, it could really have very different behavior. So it's going to take probably a few weeks to a few months to validate it and roll it out. I would kind of keep my expectations in check there. But I think we will start to see the first videos of its new capabilities within just a few weeks.
Wow. Yeah, this is the one thing I'm looking forward to. More than a proxy, Alexandra. More than a proxy. 14, it's pretty good. What did you take of this job opening for this robotaxi engineer that is says here that it's supposed to be map airport experience related to rides for entire world? I was like, what? People are going, what is that? Wow, that's the entire world. And then the second sentence was build backend infrastructure for storing and processing many forms of map data for entire world. What does that mean, Omar?
Yeah. I mean, it should be no surprise they're hiring like crazy for the Robotaxi service. One of the big places people want rideshare is the airport. People want to go to the airport from the airport. We just saw San Francisco today announce that they're going to let Waymo start operating with a human behind the wheel and eventually fully autonomously. So driverless cars are really coming to the airport. I think Tesla wants to be at SFO and Austin Airport and everywhere else where they're operating too. So with the airport authority usually wants you to behave in a certain way, go to a certain spot for pickup. In San Francisco, they have a certain parking garage that's designated for rideshare. In other markets, they have certain areas where you're supposed to pull over. So they want to make sure that they're following the rules of each of these airports around the world, that they have a good pipeline to ingest information about maps and other stuff that they might need to navigate the airport, and ultimately enable Robotaxi to pick you up from airports in, any geofence they operate in.
Okay. And then since I've got you here, the extended hours. So California, you can now go right to 2 p.m., 2 a.m., only a 4-hour downtime. That shows that I guess that operations, they feel like they've got that, but also maybe safety, right? Because middle of night's a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, ultimately, what we want is a 24-hour service. They're moving a lot closer to that here. It is just a lot more useful for, people who are trying the Robotaxi service in the initial weekend. It was always kind of a buzzkill when it just got shut off at midnight. I mean, sometimes you're still out at midnight. So 2 a.m. now you can take it home from the bar, not just to the bar. And the service is just getting more and more useful.
Yeah, taking home from the bar. That's actually really good. Okay, Morgan Stanley, Adam Jonas, dropped 2 notes, one back to back. The first one was he was raving about taking a 1,400-mile, 12-hour round trip from New York to Michigan using his old 2021 model. No, what is it? What was he driving? But it was the old version of our Hardware 3. And then, but it was flawless, full self-driving, flawless. He wrote a note about it saying how incredible this was. He's super bullish on Tesla stock now. Then he dropped another note last night saying that he's going to buy a new Model Y because he wants to get the Hardware 4. And of course, all the other good reasons why this is. But Morgan Stanley has always been bullish. Adam Jonas has been bullish. But, this is, I mean, he's been using FSD for a long time. He's got that. But I don't know why it's made it sound like as if he just discovered something that all of us have been knowing for so long. Anyways, as long as more of these analysts actually use the product, then they can speak a little bit more intelligently about it.
Yeah.
I think you're making a very good point, Robert. Sorry about that, Omar, just 2 seconds. I mean, these 2 notes should have been out 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Now, just imagine this is the most bullish and the most supportive analyst we have. I mean, I would put him largely above Dan Ives. I love Dan Ives, but I think Dan Ives is, very stuck on his way of modeling, while Morgan Stanley really made always an effort to think a different way. I tracked all his analyst briefs, and you saw that he pulled in analysts from their AI side, analysts from their manufacturing side. So they made an effort, okay? And yet, while just putting in parentheses, while many are still stuck at analyzing it like a car company, right? So they made an effort to go the extra mile. And yet, it took him 6 months to get to these 2 notes. And it got him 6 months to understand that he wants AI 4. It's just incredible. It's incredible how slow. And so you can just imagine how long it will take the other guys.
Well, if he drives it, hopefully the other guys will get, I better drive it too, because he's kind of the leader. Omar, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Alexandra. This guy is impressed with his hardware 3 car after taking a road trip. I mean, this is like an Apple analyst coming out and saying, wow, I just tried the iPhone 10 and it is amazing. So I'm glad he's upgrading to a hardware 4 car. I think he's going to be even more impressed. But honestly, people don't talk enough about the Tesla road trip experience. Everyone just says, oh, you're going to hate road tripping in an EV. You're going to be stuck at the charger for hours. When the reality is, you don't have to drive the car. Autopilot and FSD make it such a breeze. You're just relaxing, enjoying the music. The car's handling everything. And it picks these supercharger spots out for you that have restaurants, food, shelter. It's really a nice experience. I think Tesla should, find a way to highlight that more and let more people experience what a road trip with FSD and superchargers is like, because I mean, it's really just so much better of an experience than using a gas car. But yeah, I mean, now he's got a hardware 4 car. He's going to be able to try FSD 13. He's going to be able to try the reverse. And in a few weeks or before the end of the year, he's going to get that FSD 14 update. And I bet you he's going to be putting out a note on that too. So you see really more focus on FSD and Optimus, people looking at Elon's comp plan, people looking at the milestones. Analysts are slowly upgrading their cars. They're seeing the latest technology, what it can do. We've got a rate cut happening tomorrow, most likely, that is going to add more fuel to the fire. And the core auto business is stabilizing and growing year over year, on top of all these growth areas that we're talking about. So it really seems like the narrative has changed quite a bit in the last 6 months. Just a few months ago, we were in these spaces talking about how to stop people from lighting Teslas on fire, and that was a lot of the narrative. Now people are really focused on the future, it feels like.
Go ahead, Sat.
Well, I mean, one thing about the compensation package is that if you believe Elon's track record, he's achieved it much earlier than when they expected it to, like the time frame that they gave him. So I think that seeing that compensation package means that they believe they thought through it and that those goals are feasible, and which is still like huge goals, the ambitious goals that I don't see other OEMs doing, because I see the opposite of other OEMs. They promise us stuff and then they retract it, right? Whereas Elon has actually hit the mark way earlier. So I think that gives a vote of confidence because they think it's possible to do that. And as far as I know, the last 17 years, he hasn't failed.
Yeah, I've been following very closely any other comments by institutional analysts and what they're saying. And so far, they're positive on the performance package. They're positive on like you said, Omar, the big vote of confidence. They see the $1 billion investment as that. And now they're very excited about the good Q3 coming up and Robotaxi progress. They're all saying the right things. The one negative was, of course, I don't know if you guys heard about the Pope. Kind of like calling out Elon on the comp plan. So, anyways, that's too bad. Yeah, I myself have been 7 months, no critical interventions on a hardware 4 Model 3, 7 months. And I've taken it to Portland. I've taken it to Vancouver 3 times. I just was there again this weekend. I'm from Seattle, so it's a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. And it's glorious, like the whole time. I mean, people don't understand. This thing is driving multiple cities, anywhere I go, any point A to any point B.
Multiple countries.
Multiple countries.
Right-hand drive and left-hand drive.
Not yet. Well, yeah. I have the distinction, Omar, as being the first person to drive FSD in Canada, and you should know because I was begging you to help me when I accidentally did that. Like 3 years ago. But yeah, so anyways, this weekend when I was at the supercharger just before the border, a guy parked his car right, at the supercharger, and he did not know what to do. And that, I guess he just bought his Model 3 Performance, brought it to the supercharger, and had no idea what to do. So I just And he was shocked that all you do is pull out the cord, the cable, and plug it in. Like you don't even have to press any buttons. You just get as close as possible, and then the thing opens up and you plug it in. He was like, trying to figure out how to do this. Anyways, I think that there are people buying the car. I don't know how you buy the car and not know something like that, but maybe it's just a one-off thing.
And more important, so many people have no idea about FSD. I actually referred a couple of people over the last 2 or 3 years, and whenever I meet them, I go like, "Do you use FSD now?" And they go, "No, I didn't try." I said, "Well, you all had 3 months of trial." "Yeah, I don't feel like pushing the button." Crazy stuff out there. I have no idea why that happens. I mean, obviously, I'm maybe in an age tranche where my friends are less early adopters, but it's crazy how much resistance there still is to try it.
Mhm. Okay, and so what are we waiting for? FSD 14, you said a couple weeks. It could be a month or two. Okay, fine. I'm okay waiting for FSD 14 for the end of this year. But Elon, there is approval for FSD, Tesla to roll out some version, or maybe a ride hail in Nevada, the entire state. They got that approved. Anything else you're expecting? Elon kind of made a joke against Ashok Goswami last week when Ashok pointed out that the app for Robotaxi app skyrocketed to one of the top in the list, and Elon said, "Guess we have to open up new markets," something like that. Are you guys expecting announcements? Let's say before the end of the month, before the end of the quarter?
I mean, I don't know about the end of the quarter, but there's definitely going to be a lot of announcements coming. I think they definitely plan to expand aggressively. We did hear about that permit from Nevada. So I think Arizona, Nevada, other markets where Waymo's operating are probably going to be announced pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm expecting that as well. Okay. Any other news on the Robotaxi? What'd you take on the Tesla Semi purchased by Uber Freight? I haven't read on that yet.
Well, Gary Black is going to be very excited. Finally, Tesla and Uber are partnering.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it's a great program. They've done the same thing with vehicles, really. They've actually subsidized and helped Uber drivers pay for Teslas to put on their network because they want clean cars on their network and they want safe cars on their network. And they're kind of doing the same thing with the semis here, where they're actually going to help people who want to buy a semi. Uber will actually pay for part of it, and they'll be able to run it on the Uber Freight network, and the Uber Freight network will then get to go and talk about how they're championing low emission technology and all of that. So I think Uber and Tesla have a very kind of interesting relationship. You see them partner. It's obvious they're kind of emerging as competitors, but the Robotaxi service is still small enough that I think Uber isn't too worried about it in the near term. So there's kind of this, still this friendly vibe. They're doing partnerships. Uber's actually a great company. They're really helping to accelerate electrification in a lot of ways. But yeah, as time goes on, if Robotaxi challenges their business more, things might not be so friendly between the two companies.
Yeah, I haven't asked you, Omar, but you might remember that just a week ago, Jason Kalkanis, who's an investor in both Tesla and Uber, was shocked that Uber announced that they're going to do $1 billion of buybacks. And he said, instead of $1 billion buyback, why don't you buy, I don't know, I can't remember how many a million cars, Tesla, old cars, new cars, and then put that on the network, and then it will turn autonomous. Yeah, that makes sense. So here they're partnering with Tesla to buy Tesla semis on behalf of their clients. They could do something similar here. Buy these cars, Tesla cars now. But I don't know, maybe that's not their model. Maybe, I don't know what it is, why they didn't do that. That makes some more sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really anything to do with them. They're really helping owners buy the vehicles, and they're giving them a subsidy in exchange for running on their network. So they don't actually own any vehicles themselves. If I were Uber and I were figuring out how to deploy capital, I would probably buy an autonomous
Mhm.
AI provider. Like, for example, I think Wave in the UK would probably be a good target for an acquisition to them, or maybe Comma AI in San Diego. But realistically, George Hotz isn't going to want to sell to them. So, I mean, you saw the Robotaxi app just shoot up the charts when it went online, and everyone said, "Oh, no one's going to download a new app. They want to use the app they have." Well, it turns out people don't care about having the Uber app and the Waymo app and the Lyft app and the Zoox app. Turns out your phones have pretty big storage these days, and they can fit all of these apps. And you can actually switch between them. You can open Waymo, you can open Uber, and you can take the rides that's the cheapest. It's really all the same to people. The app isn't that hard to make. The hard part is making the service available, making the wait times low, and making the costs reasonable for the service that runs in the app. So I think ultimately there isn't really going to be as much of a moat in owning the app as people want. And Uber would be wise, I think, to expand vertically and try and own more of the stack themselves to better compete with Tesla.
Yeah, that's what they've got to do something soon. We'll see. Yeah, but so far the story is playing out the way us Tesla bulls have been saying. Of course, the bears were right. It's been slow, but the story is playing out now. So there's some people that's going to be left in the dust. One more last thing about FSD that I wanted to ask you again, Omar, because I hadn't talked to you about this, is this new potential message that pops up when there's either lane drift or drowsiness, pops up and says, stay focused with FSD, let FSD assist you, you can stay focused. What did you take on that? But then, of course,
Yeah.
in order to use FSD, you have to be supervised. But it's I think of it's almost like kind of like in this in-between stage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think a lot of these initiatives are really emerging out of some of the details they gave us on the last earnings call, where they said 50% of the fleet hasn't even tried FSD yet.
Yeah.
They're really trying to apply some in-car messaging. I mean, I saw it. I was driving my Cybertruck manually a bit, and it said, "Hey, turn on FSD supervised." I was thinking, you don't really need to tell me. I know about FSD. But
Yeah.
they are popping that notification up for people. And I think this lane departure notification is actually pretty clever. They already have this feature in the system where it notifies you if you're departing the lane. Well, now it just says, "Hey, dumbass, you can't even stay in the lane. Why don't you just turn on FSD? I can actually stay in the lane, probably better than you are right now." And yeah, I mean, that could save somebody's life. Obviously, you still need to be supervising, but if you're drowsy and trying to get to the next rest stop or something, yeah, that, if you fall asleep while FSD supervised is on, you probably wake up to the car beeping. You fall asleep driving manually, you might not wake up, unfortunately, right? And someone else might not wake up either. So I think it's a great way to market the feature. Hey, you're not able to stay in the lines. Why not turn FSD supervised on? And we're probably going to see more messaging in the car software trying to convince people to give FSD a try.
Yeah, I've seen so much of that in my own car. But if you bought FSD, then that's one thing. That's one thing. If you own it, and then you're trying to get them to use more. But if you don't have FSD, and then this pops up, I don't know how that works. Like they're going to say you should try. You should. Like they're not going to give it to you for free yet. That would have been great if they say, okay, try it. It's free for a certain period or whatever it is. That would have been perfect. But and then the other thing would be like if somebody does fall asleep, like really just completely knocked out, there should be a warning, which because obviously in-cabin camera can tell that, try to wake you up. Then ideally, FSC just turns on and brings you safely to the side of the road. But who takes the liability for that? Could you sign some sort of a waiver ahead of time that you agree to something like this? I don't know, but that would be like fantastic. Save lives right now. If you fall asleep, I allow the car to drive itself to take me safely somewhere,
Yeah, this would be a good way to maybe start getting some FSD supervised allowances in the law. So it is tricky because you're kind of getting into unsupervised territory here, but I think you're right. The car needs to be able to recognize that someone's asleep or incapacitated and get the car into a safe position while we're in the supervised stage. In the unsupervised stage, you should be able to fall asleep and it just gets you to your destination anyway. But yeah, I mean, you would be shocked at how many people fall asleep while driving. It's way more common than you think. And this technology could change their lives, save their lives, maybe.
No, long road trip a long time ago. I remember, trying to just wake myself up. I mean, it happens so often. So FSD 14 comes out, let's say, employees are testing. When do you think that they will roll that out to the Robotaxi, the actual Robotaxi service in Austin? And then from there, like, wouldn't they want to test that first before they, let's say, remove the safety rider in Austin?
I would expect that they can validate it for the Austin geofence probably sooner than they can validate it for the whole country. So I would expect FSD 14 to start going into the cars in late September to October.
Right.
And then it would probably be validated and sent out to the broader customer base in the weeks after that.
That's why I still think that they won't remove the safety rider until the end of the year or maybe even January. But what's your guess on when you might do that? Yeah.
Once you launch FSD 14, you really want a couple of months of polishing. Usually in the space right after a new release comes out, we see a lot of point releases. Right, with FSD 13, we saw 13 and 13.1 and 13.2 and 13.2.1 through 9, finally arriving on 13.2.9 where it's kind of settled. So we'll probably see a similar thing with 14. Right now, the testers tell me the version is just FSD v14. So we're probably going to see some points added in there before most of the customers get it. And they're going to validate it. They're going to make sure they're not seeing any interventions. But if they're seeing for a few months that the safety monitor in the car is never doing anything, well, then there's no point in having the safety monitor in the car. You can start removing them or experimenting with taking them out at certain times. And it shouldn't really make a difference if they weren't doing anything anyway.
Do you guys think that Q4 is going to be a really good quarter? Because the going thought right now is that Q3 is going to be a great quarter for the obvious reason of the 7,500 IRA credit going away. Sales are going up. But then Q4, everybody thinks will just be right. A lot of the sales were pulled forward to Q3. Some people think, no, Q4 is going to be really good because timing wise, FSD 14 is going to release. Maybe that's when Robotaxi will expand. Of course, there's the more affordable model, maybe, but these things Robotaxi could have its day and FSD could have its day in Q4, or is that too early?
As far as I've seen, there's no correlation between FSD and car sales. Car sales are really going to be determined by economics. And yeah, there is going to be, I think, a little bit of a pull forward. There is going to be a negative impact from the tax credit expiring. There may be some volatility there, but they've also got these new cheaper models they're introducing. Generally, I think the vehicles are on an upward trajectory, especially when we look at a lot of this technology like FSD that the public doesn't appreciate yet. So, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can't imagine in the range of possible values how it would really make a difference if they delivered 400,000 cars versus 500,000. More sales is better, obviously. It's nice. But I think the high order bit here, the piece that's really going to impact the future valuation is obviously the expansion of the Robotaxi service, the launch of unsupervised with, fully empty cars, nobody in them, and Optimus.
Yeah. All that till later. Alexander, are you still going to stand by your hope and guess that they will actually announce the new affordable model by next week, the week before the quarter ends?
It is certainly my wish because I'm ready with the money, because I really want that car as a second
What?
car for our family. Oh,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
first time I'm hearing this. What
Oh, well, you
you're
should
going to
listen to
buy
the
a
other.
more affordable? You are going to buy a more affordable vehicle.
Yeah, I think this is a great car for the kids. I think this is a great second car. And I think this is a great Robotaxi as soon as I could put it into
Ah.
the system. So I want to have it. And if I cannot have it with a 7,500 tax credit, can you imagine? I mean, the deal it would be. So my gosh, would I love them to release the order book before September 30th, and if it's just a day before, and then all of those that are in the know could jump on it. And I'm like I said, I'm so ready for it, and then take possession in Q4. That would be fabulous. Now, if it's not the case, well, we'll still buy that car, even though they're not 7,500. But I think it would be a nice way to help the IRS understand how much we loved our EV credit.
Interesting. Well, I don't know anyone else except you who've proposed this proposal. The idea that if they can announce it the day before September 30th, and anybody who then actually agrees to the agreement, that's enough that you can take delivery of the car after September 30th. But if you do it before September 30th, you can take advantage of 7,500. And so, interesting. I don't know. I think we. Yeah,
I mean,
well, Omar does not agree that that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know.
It might be a good idea. I don't think it's likely they'll do it, but it would be nice for customers.
Oh my God. I don't think they need to, but also when you release a new vehicle, I don't know the legalities of, you need to.
Can you imagine Q4 numbers? Can you imagine? This would be the biggest car product launch in the world ever. Because
well, what's your guess? If they do it the week before, the day before, how many people would buy it right off the bat? Like, just sign up, because you'd have to buy it, right? You have to go through the thing.
I mean, this reminds me how we all queued up in 2017 to get a Model 3.
Yes.
This reminds me how we all queued up to get, I mean, not me, but people queued up to get their Apple phone and so their iPhone. So, I really do believe that it would crush the website, and people would queue up in front of service centers to get their reservations in. I think this would be fabulous, and I hope they look at it and don't say, "Oh, let's play nice." Please, let's not play nice for once. Please.
I mean, it's possible that they're actually quote unquote sold out of the Model Ys, because they just got so much demand already that maybe because they're it's not going to cannibalize that.
Come on, Herbert. We all hear from 1,000 corners that this affordable car is ready, right? We've even seen some strange pictures and all that. So if it's ready, why in the world would you wait for October 1st if you can have clients squeeze in that 7,500? I mean, when I saw that extension, which didn't make any sense, right? That extension made no sense, that they suddenly allowed that orders up, because I mean, it wasn't done for GM. It wasn't done for, the Hummer Electric. Nobody's waiting for September 30th to put their order in for their cars. So I just thought, oh my God, I mean, this seems to have been a nice little negotiation between Tesla and. So why not earlier? Well, because at the moment there are still sufficient normal Model Y orders, but I mean, the Model Y orders have largely exceeded the expectations. Just remember 6 weeks ago, everybody from Tesla was saying, put your order in, there won't be more, this is it. Why wouldn't there be more? And so I just think this may just happen, and I will be very disappointed if it doesn't, but I'll survive too.
Okay, that lands us right to the plant manager of Tesla Giga Berlin. And he came out and said that they're ramping up production for Q3 and Q4 thanks to very strong sales. And then he added that this goes beyond Germany. We supply significantly more than 30 markets, and we see a positive trend.
Including Canada, and they're doing a great job. And obviously with the Model Y Long, they're doing a great job. And with the performance that they launched first, and the affordable car is gonna be a winner in Europe. There's no doubt about it. So there again, I mean, obviously there's no IRS tax credit, but who knows whether they're not producing it in all four factories, again from the get-go.
Right. Ooh, another great conversation. Thank you, Omar, Alexandra, and Sad. Appreciate you guys. Don't know why Jeff didn't show up. I'll have to ping him.
Where is
Or-
he?
I don't know. I got to go and have it's going to have a nice dinner out right now with my wife. So going to do that right now. Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your
Appreciate you all.
dinner. Did you
Yeah.
dare taking your son-in-laws, Herbert?
They're not
Because I
here.
think we should-
That was a couple
Tell
weekends
everybody
ago.
about your son-in-laws. Herbert is very, very
They're not
particular.
son-in-laws. They're boyfriends. Gosh, come on. Me?
So let's talk about your son-in-law soon. See you all soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.